Uh, this is not optimal. Hello? Oh, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, good.
Oh, yeah, we're good to go. We're definitely good to go. You have it open on your, you don't have a touchscreen. You have it open on your thing.
Okay.
Yeah. You can just keep it open, pause it, and just mute the... Oh, yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're good to go. We're definitely good to go. You have it open on your... You got it.
All right.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
All right.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Letter Podcast. I'm Aiden Brueck. To my right, you can't see him, but this is Mike Popovich here from the Canton Repository, live from the Repository building in Canton. Today, we got a nice lineup for you guys. Going to be taking a look at different things around the area of high school sports, and we're going to check in and see what happens here. So, obviously, of course, you haven't seen us in a while. That has been due to a couple of conflicts. Obviously, I'm still in high school, so I got to get those rolling. I got to get those grades rolling. And Mike's been busy with his own sports journalism stuff. But we're back. We're here for basketball season. And I mean, I'm ready to be back. I'm ready to do it. And we're going to start doing these actually live on YouTube now instead, every Saturday. So you can look forward to those. And until further notice, I mean, we're good to go.
Well, it's great to be back. I know you had some, like you said, some school conflicts and some work conflicts, but the two of us, we kind of did some individual work that we posted on the channel during football season. I know you had some interviews with some Green football players after their Painesville Riverside win in the playoffs. Yeah. And I put some interviews up as well as some of my game recaps. So it's great to dive into basketball season right now.
Yeah, 100%. And especially diving into basketball season. I know that Mike and I have talked about potentially going to some of these high schools in the area and broadcasting these games, doing some play-by-play for you guys here on YouTube for free, just to kind of expand that outreach and things of that sort. But, you know, it's definitely an experience to be back. It's definitely was an experience to cover some high school football. And now that we're back, I mean, I think we're better than ever to an extent, maybe. We'll just kind of see what happens here down the road. The one thing that we do want to say is, right now these basketball broadcasts aren't guaranteed. We can't say for sure if we're doing them or not. But I could tell you one thing, and that is that we both are very eager to get back into it, especially Mike, since you have experience with WZIP.
Yeah, and that's been a long time ago. And, you know, I hope we can do this because, yeah, that would mean a lot to do that. I think I've told you before. I mean, okay, I've been in the newspaper business a long time, but broadcasting was my first love. And, you know, I would love to do these things. I know you had some experience a few years ago doing it and you know, getting your feet wet, getting your experience in. And, you know, I hope we can finalize this so you have more experience moving forward here in your aspirations.
Yeah, as do I. And especially if there are any high school coaches for basketball that are willing to reach out, you can email Mike at what is it? mpopovichrep at gmail.com?
No, it's Mike.Popovich.
Yes.
Mike.Popovich at cantonrep.com.
Yeah.
We're looking for some statistics from last year. We're looking for some rosters. So and in addition to my prep work that I have to do for basketball season for the repository as well. So feel free to reach out to us with those things, and you know, we're good to go. Like you said, we don't have we kind of made out a list of games we would like to target, but until we arrange some logistics over the next few weeks, you know, we don't want to broadcast that out. And but you know, if those things hopefully do get finalized, you know, we will let people know where we're at.
Yeah, 100%. And talking about basketball, obviously this year is going to be a bit different in terms of playoffs. We're going to see 7 divisions this year in high school basketball, similar to the divisions in high school football. I mean, what do you think about that, Mike?
You know what? You know me, I'm not much of an old school guy, but I'm so used to having the four divisions. Um, what that's going to do is that's going to eliminate how cool it was to go to a Final Four. If you followed high school volleyball at all this year, um, they had seven divisions in high school volleyball, and there was really no Final Four because you had to cram all of those games into three different sites, the semifinal games into three different sites, and you'd play your seven state championship games over 2 days and stuff. But I can see where they're coming from. You look at a school like Louisville last year, really talented team, really could have made a long run in the tournament. A very small Division I school, and they ended up getting beaten in the district final by Glen Oak. So for a school like Louisville, that's going to really benefit, and they're going to be down to Division III this year. And I think they have a better chance to maybe make a long run in the tournament. So for that reason, it's kind of nice to see schools like that, have a better opportunity to move on in the postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a couple of these guys picked out here, moving from Division I to Division II. I mean, you have Stowe, Hoover, Greene, and Massillon. All these places just moving down those divisions. Obviously, you got Glen Oak, Jackson, McKinley not moving, staying up, and Jackson staying up in Division I with St. Ignatius, who won the Division I championship last year. I mean, I can't imagine that there's really going to be that much of a shuffle. I think that regardless of what happens with playoff chaos, it's still going to be the same old basketball guts and basketball physicality in any of these games. So I guess I just can't imagine it's going to be too difficult for some people to accept this bit of stray off of the the usual four divisions. And even if they do move, I mean, even if they have moved to seven divisions, I can't see a path forward where it's necessarily that bad. I mean, the only thing that I have against such large divisions is that you're going to have blowouts in the first round, like for every game. And that's just something that I can't get behind, because I want good games right off the jump, because the playoffs are supposed to be like I said, it's supposed to be a gutsy performance. And if you're not enabling that by having less competition, and less ability to get into the playoffs in the first place, then I think you're limiting the excitement of the high school basketball season a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what you see in football right now when they expanded the playoff teams from 8 to 16 in a region. I mean, you have those 16-1 games that just they're just you rarely see a competitive game in that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I think like you said, that the better teams are going to be factored into whether, like we said, Louisville could be a factor in D1. They're just going to be a big factor in D3 because they have that much talent coming back. Same thing for a Hoover team that that had one of the top freshmen in the area last year, Hunter Hirschberger. They go down from Division I to Division II, and they should have a very good year. Although they're going to be missing a key player, Zach Brocker,
who went down ACL injury beginning of the football season.
Yeah, they're going to be missing him, and he's not going to play basketball this year.
Although he did dress up for the team's pictures, so I think he's still going to have a prominent role in their team, especially if he's going to be a player coach. But taking a look at some of these other teams, Massillon, who will now have all of their football guys back after a good run through the playoffs there, losing to Big Walnut last night. 14-7, and kind of a shocker, Mike. It wasn't expected from me. I wasn't expecting that. I think, we were talking about it in the car ride up here that we thought that Maslin was just going to, essentially just dominate the entirety of the game, and they didn't do that. There's an undisciplined team with an undisciplined decision making coach. Just didn't make the right decisions at the right time. Especially you go two false starts in a row by the same guy, and you don't change anything, and you just expect it to get better, and that's just not how it works. If something's going bad, it's better to get the yips out and then put him back in the game. But you let him go for 4, and that's just a problem. Especially, what's the count? It was 175 yards.
26 penalties for 175 yards.
26 penalties for Maslin then.
Well, and then there was the one drive, and I don't remember offhand if it was the same lineman, but you go from 4th and 1 at your own, not at your own, but at the Big Walden 18-yard line, and you turn it into 4th and 21 because you have four false starts in a row.
Yep.
That's just not, granted, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes and everything. I have never seen that in all my years of doing this. And it's just, that just killed a drive that had an opportunity for Maslin to take the lead going into halftime. And it's not like that ended after that. There were numerous false starts the rest of the game. And you know what? You can be a defending state champion. You could be a team favored to play for a state championship. But when you make mistakes like that at this point in the playoffs against a good team like Big Walnut, you're going to do yourself in. And that's what Maslin did last night.
Yeah, and it always goes back to the fact that in high school football, anything can happen at any given moment. And every single coach that I've ever talked to from high school football will tell you the same thing, that on any given Friday, anything can happen. And basically that just happened. There's really not much to say. Maslin lost, congratulating the Big Walnut kids as they leave the field. And after you let up a 96-yard game winning, which ended up being game winning, when you let up a 96-yard touchdown kickoff return, doesn't really send you into the right headspace.
If you're Big Walnut, I'm looking at maybe Maslin winning this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. If you're Big Walnut and you go into halftime and you're tied at 7, you've got a belief in your mind that you can go out and win this game. And then when one of your players returns the second half kickoff for a touchdown to give you the lead, my goodness, that's
doesn't get much better.
Yeah, that it doesn't get much better for them. And congratulations to them. They deserved to move on last night, and they'll be playing Cincinnati Anderson in the state semifinal. And the winner of that game will take on the winner of
Hoban and Avon. And they actually just announced that Hoban and Avon, that game's going to happen at the Zip Stadium next Friday. So that'll be interesting. I really love it when they schedule games at InfoCision Stadium, because I think that's just a different atmosphere. It's like the Hall of Fame stadium, but
well, right. It gives you kind of a feel of what you would be playing at if you win that game. You're going to be playing at a similar size stadium. You might have a similar size crowd at the state semifinal game as you would at the state championship game. The results of last night probably reduced the attendance for the Division II state championship game a lot, no matter who plays in it. But there must not be any events at Akron next week, because they don't just always host games, but they have a good game between a team that we're familiar with and an Avon team coached by a former Mountain Union player, Mike Elder, who's been knocking at the door of the state title for the past few years.
Yeah, and you look at these teams that have had this, prestigious results in these past couple of years. You take a look at your Hobans, take a look at your Masslands, you take a look at your Avons, all these places, Walsh Jesuit, throw them in there. But it seems now that a lot of these other schools are taking more prominence, especially in the playoff picture. And whether it be an upset in the middle of the season when you think it's going to be less of a squandering, or you think it's going to be a blowout, it's just goes back to that principle of anything can happen on a Friday.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's exactly what happened yesterday with Massillon losing to Big Walnut. And also, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Big Walnut is called Big Walnut, because I think that's a phenomenal name. I wouldn't have it any other way, Mike.
Well, that's one reason why, because since we have to write headlines for our stories right now, that's why I use the term tough to crack in a headline.
That's why it works. Yeah, but if you want to,
you've heard worse jokes than
I've
that.
heard worse jokes. Yeah. I'll say that. I've definitely heard worse jokes.
Recently you have.
Yeah. Now I want to shift our attention over to these week 15 high school football playoff games. St. Edward's and playing Olentangy Liberty. St. Edward's number 7 in the seeding, Olentangy Liberty number 1. Martin RPI has St. Edward's by 6. And the other one, Archbishop Moeller versus Centerville, 1 versus 2 matchup. We have Moeller by 24, apparently, on RPI here. This is actually the Ohio Fantastic 50, so my apologies. Division 3, Ursuline versus Toledo Central Catholic. Another 1 versus 1 matchup. Division 3, state semifinal, Bishop Watterson versus London, 1 versus 4. Division 4, Glenville versus Perkins. And Glenville edged one out in overtime this week in a pretty gutsy performance for the defending state champions, right?
Well, yeah, Glenville, just because, they lost some talented players last year, a team that beat Canton South in the state semifinals, and look where they're at. I was wondering if West Branch earlier in the playoffs could maybe knock them off. West Branch had a very explosive team. Glenville was able to win that game, and here they are back in the state semifinals.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought that game was going to be less close than it really was. And just like the Massillon game, obviously it was different because Glenville took the dub, but it's just astonishing that you can see so many different outcomes with such different players and such different scenarios.
Go back to Division 2 for a minute. It has Cincinnati Anderson versus Big Walnut. They have Cincinnati Anderson by 20.
26.
I don't know about that. But I know that site is an analytical statistical site, but don't sell Big Walnut short. If you're looking at, especially like what happened last night.
Yeah. 100%. Division 5, Liberty Center versus South Range. South Range, or what was I going to say? Liberty Center beat Poland, or South Range beat Poland Seminary last week, and I was able to see Poland Seminary's win over Manchester 2 weeks ago. And it was it was last Friday. I was able to see that win for Poland Seminary. And the other thing that I want to talk about is Manchester totally turning that program around, going from no wins or 1 win in such a long time to making it into the third round of the playoffs. Doesn't get much better than that.
They went 1-19 over a 2-year period. And people who remember Manchester football as being this great program under Jim France, how many Pac-7 titles did they win in a row? I couldn't begin to tell you off the top of my head. And then they fall upon hard times. And then Kevin Stacy, a former Northwest player, comes in and helps revitalize that program. And they got everything going for them right now. new football stadium, new high school, resurgent football program. And, they just made a great run and, came up against a Poland team that, remember in that game, they held the ball the entire third quarter. And, they just controlled Manchester that night. But congratulations to Manchester on a great year.
Yeah, 100%. And also congratulations to Poland Seminary for making it that far. Falling to South Range isn't fun because when you fall to South Range, you might have just lost to the eventual state champions. But it's nice to have that knowledge because you put up a pretty good effort against that team.
Yeah, they only lost by 1 point to them. I think.
So it can't be that. It can't be that head hanging of a moment for Poland Seminary there, especially after they're such a dominant win over Manchester, where they held the ball for literally the entirety of the third quarter. Division 6, Kirtland versus Northmore, a 14-0 team versus another 14-0 team. Two undefeated squads taking a quick glance at each other in the semifinals. Coldwater versus Bluffton. We got a 1 versus 2 matchup, 13-1 versus 13-1. Division 7, Hillsdale versus Danville, and then Marion Local versus Columbus Grove. And I mean, I'm really keeping my eye on some of these predictions that they're going to be complete blowouts in the state semifinals. And I'm not sure I can agree with that because at this point, you're so deep into the playoffs. Obviously, you had to be pretty good to make it that far.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, this is the best of the best are still the best of the best are playing right now. And but boy, in Division 6 and Division 7, it'd be hard for me to go against Kirtland in Division 6 and Marion Local in Division 7.
Yeah, 100%. Shifting our attention over to the all Northeast Inland District high school football squads announced for the 2024 OHS AA season. Do you like how I say OHS AA?
It's different.
I know. I try to be different.
But you are different.
Mike, I'll take that as a compliment.
I'm going to end up putting a dash in between.
Dash in between.
I'm going to dash between OHS
and AA.
See, I'm so used to saying it OHSAA, but
yeah, but let's give these guys some shout outs here, elaborate on some of these players. Linemen for Division 1 first team, we have Robbie Eberhardt for Jackson, 265-pound senior, got another nod this year. In terms of running backs, Christian Satterfield, who also ended up winning the Offensive Player of the Year. Christian has had a phenomenal year for Jackson this year, and it must have been nice for Jackson being able to have two pieces on the receiving end and the running end to be able to kind of spread that offense out. But when you only got two guys that are able to do that for you on offense, then it's pretty easy to crack the code. But for Jackson, that's not the case because they got a bunch of other kids ready to take the spot.
Right. Yeah. And I think that Christian Satterfield, maybe people outside of Jackson really didn't know a whole lot about him. Maybe they were focusing more on, their returning quarterback, Lucas Eckerman. But Jackson this year, with Satterfield, Eckerman, pretty good two-way threat on offense there.
Yeah. And Cam Montgomery from Kent McKinley, the tallest person on this list, also happens to be the first team quarterback for Division 1. I mean, seriously, the kid had a great season. He balled out, great on his feet. He's able to see over his line, which in high school football helps you out a lot. And I believe Cam Montgomery is going to play basketball this year. Is he not?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know off the top of my head. I feel like I remember seeing his name on a roster when I was commentating a green game a couple of years ago, but
no, he's a transfer this year. Yeah, Cam Montgomery.
I swear I saw Montgomery somewhere. There's no way. I saw Montgomery somewhere.
Well, I'm sure you did.
Well, Montgomery is a pretty common name.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure you did.
That's probably where I'm getting that from. But, in high school, we don't have a lot of sports information directors. So
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
And it would be nice to have them, too.
It would be nice to have sports information directors in high school. The lack of resources sometimes is a bit of a burden.
Well, it would take a lot off the coaches, too, because, they can focus on that, and SIDs can focus on what they can focus on. But I'm sorry to digress there.
No, you're not digressing. You're calling me wrong, and I need to be humbled every once in a while. No, we got Dior Gardner, Kevon McNeil from McKinley, Dante McClellan, who had a breakout year last year, comes back, plays primarily more on defense this year, and kills it. Gets on that first team nod. And defensive player of the year. This would make sense. That totally passed over my head. This isn't the first time I've seen these, I promise. Mitchell Brocker for Jackson, Jordan Warmeth, and David Potter all get linebacker nods. And then Jay Rohr from Jackson also wins Coach of the Year.
Jay Rohr is, this isn't our team. This is the team that WHBC selected. Jay Rohr became, I think, the first guy to ever win Player of the Year in Stark County and Coach of the Year in Stark County.
And I mean, what a feat to have, because if you're up on that pedestal, I mean, what are they going to do? Tell you that you can't coach football? What are they going to do? Run you out of town? No,
the Akron Zips do have great former football players.
I'll give them that. Yeah. Cooper Mazur from Jackson, Zach Saleh, Noah Colando, all get nods. Matt Rexis, Javion McClendon from Glen Oak, Nino Hill, Keith Quincy, and Braden Early from McKinley. A lot of Fed players, Division I first team, actually 9 in total on the first team, and even more with honorable mention nods. So it's a great look for the Federal League. Going into the Division II first team, 5 Federal League first teams, Ryan Lippy, Charlie Christopher, Antonio Martin, Austin Maddox, all these guys having standout seasons as well. And then a punter from the Federal League, Cole Rembilack, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Cole Rembilack, who I want to say he averaged 45 a punt. I think that's what I remember. He averaged at least 40, without a doubt. But he gets a first team punter nod. And then Keller Moten for Walsh Jesuit, who fell yesterday to Hoban, wins the Offensive Player of the Year nod, as well as the first team quarterback. In terms of our second team here, we have 10 second team Federal League players on the second team. Ethan Hunt, Jack Ziarko, Cohen Stoll, all those guys from Lake and Hoover. Jack Ziarko from Hoover, everybody else from Lake, and then Michael Millen from Perry. AJ Dolph gets his flowers for his running back work with Hoover. And Brock Huggins gets some recognition, thankfully, for his work for Perry.
He can kick for my team any day.
Listen, if that's the Browns tweeted this the Bengals tweeted this a couple of years ago, and they just kept saying, this is why you draft a kicker. And if Brock Huggins doesn't kick in college, I'd be very surprised.
He will.
100%. You have Hunter Patterson on the defensive line for Lake, Connor Shepard for Perry for the linebackers, AJ Fortunato, my guy from Green, had a great season this year. I believe he led the team in tackles, followed by Anthony McMichael III, who was snubbed, in my opinion. But I can also say that because he's my buddy. Anthony McMichael III, snubbed of all Federal League first team, because he did indeed lead Green in interceptions and was second in tackles, but I digress. He is only a junior, by the way. Anthony Fortunato, AJ's brother, but also pretty independent. Both Fortunatos, each their own distinct player. Anthony gets a nod as well as a DB. And then honorable mentions here, 8 honorable mentions for the Federal League in Division 2. We have nods from Perry, Hoover, Green, and Lake. Just tons of guys here. And what really surprised me was that Braylon Tolles from Massillon didn't get a higher nod for his work as a wide receiver, because I feel like he had a very standout season this year. I mean, even last night against Big Walnut, he had a 75-yard completion from Jalen Slaughter, and he only got an honorable mention in second in the.
Where did they rank Charlie Christopher?
Charlie Christopher
From Lake.
Charlie Christopher got let's find this. It looks like Charlie Christopher.
Because you could rank him in different areas.
Charlie Christopher didn't even get a first team mention, it looks.
As a defender?
As a defensive back. All right, not as a D-back, as a running back. Didn't get any nods as a running back.
How about
Charlie
a linebacker?
Christopher got linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah, first team linebacker.
I mean, that's a kid who, I mean, you saw him play. I mean, he could beat you in so many different ways, you know, running back, linebacker, return guy. And another fact,
his father.
Charlie Christopher, again, it's not on the repositories, all county team, but Charlie Christopher and his father, Matt, on the WHBC team, I think are the first father-son duo who were Stark County Player of the Year.
Yeah, and that's definitely some lineage that you're going to see in the Lake department. Lake doesn't just have a little bit of a legacy there with Charlie Christopher, but, you know, also Ty DeGeorge got nods. Ty DeGeorge is Dan DeGeorge's son.
Yes.
Yes, this is correct. Dan DeGeorge's son, also getting a nod from him there. And Lake actually, I believe DeGeorge was their third string quarterback. DeGeorge was playing wide receiver earlier in the season. He was either playing running back or receiver earlier in the season. And both of their quarterbacks went down, and he stepped into that role and started running this option offense and really getting it going for Lake late in the season, especially making such a nice playoff run, just falling to Hoban. But to be honest with you, Mike, that loss is not something that Lake should hang their heads about, because to be completely frank, they kept it pretty close. And if I was Hoban, I would look back at that and say, wow. I mean, that's a good team. That was a tough game.
Lake has run into some really big powerhouses in recent years in the playoffs. Holben, Massillon a couple times. And boy, it would have been nice to see what this team could have done at the Final Four level.
Yeah, I agree, man. But besides those guys, you know, there are some Canton South guys on here, Cuyahoga Falls. I mean, no names that particularly stand out to me, because I'm not great at teams outside the Federal League, because, you know, at the end of the day, I am just a kid from Green. Just a kid from Green. That's going to be my new slogan. But overall, Mike, I think we covered pretty much all of it. In terms of football, you got all the scoop. In terms of basketball, you got the scoop. Mike and I were able to go to the 2024 Stark County High School basketball coaches preview. Saw some guys speak, make some very interesting jokes.
Interesting with question marks.
Those are definitely question marks. They definitely have asterisks by them.
What were your biggest takeaways? I mean, from that, from what the coach has said, not the jokes. Obviously.
I think that right now a lot of coaches are really expecting good results against tougher teams. Louisville is traveling to California this year to play in a tournament. Louisville also moving to Division III, correct? They're
Yes.
Division III right now.
Yes.
They're moving to Division III, going to have some different competition than they had in years previous. They're also playing a state champion from Pennsylvania, I believe. Just all these different people coming in to play Louisville, and if Louisville competes, then I mean, that's a solid showing for Siegfried.
Right. They're going to play St. Ignatius. They're going to play St. Ed's. They're going to play Richmond Heights, who's won state championships. God knows who they're going to play out in California. So Louisville. It's tough as an independent to schedule opponents in a lot of sports, except basketball, with the type of program that they have right now. So, and they're able to get some of the best.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of green basketball, Coach Spot, who also won Player of the Year in Stark County for basketball, comes into the fray after Coach Mark Kinsley leaves for the Bulldogs. And he comes back into the fold as the coach of Lake's rival, Green. And I've had several opportunities to talk with him. Great guy. But he's going to miss a couple of players this year. He's going to miss Federal League Player of the Year Brady Rollison. He's going to miss Jarrett Taylor. He's going to miss Luke Jansen. He's going to miss a lot of guys that Kinsley was able to benefit off from last year. But he's not going to lose the physicality, and he's not going to lose the grit, and he's not going to lose the Fortunatos, who are both two very physical kids that, I mean, like we said, they got nods in football. But who he is going to miss this year is he's going to miss Antonio Martin, and Antonio Martin's not playing basketball this year for Green. I learned this a couple of days ago. I mean, it is what it is. If the kid doesn't want to play basketball, he doesn't want to play basketball, and that's it. That's it. It's okay. It's no biggie.
Well, that's and that would bring to an end to a great career in multiple sports at Green. And I was really happy for him that he was able to come back from that second ACL injury. He came back into the game against Hoover that you and I were at.
Oh, that was a great game.
And he was able to make an impact in that game.
Yeah.
And
among the Anthony Fortunato as well, who we just talked about.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch the Fortunatos play basketball.
No, it is fun to watch the Fortunatos play basketball, because if I pull this up, let me take a look at how many threes the Anthony Fortunato made last year. I want to say he had 32 three-pointers made. He shot 34% from the 3-point line. And he made them when he needed to, and that's what mattered. So Anthony's back in. There are going to be a couple other guys. You have Sam Dubrovitz, who's going to be a junior this year. Made 8 threes, 40% from the three-point line. But like I said, if you are looking at the roster that I'm looking at right now, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seniors and 6 sometimes occasional starters. You're missing 6 guys after that. So you really have to fill out those 6 roster spots with people who either play similar or you switch it up entirely. And I've yet to see what Coach Spot is able to do with the program, but I'm really excited to see what type of game they run this year. And I'm excited to see some green ball as a Green student.
Your boy Tyson Honka doesn't play basketball.
No, Tyson plays hockey. He plays club hockey. Yeah, he's pretty damn good at it. Yeah.
We should squeeze in a hockey broadcast.
Squeeze in a hockey broadcast so I can say hunk of keepers and shoots and scores.
And she shoots and scores. There you go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, really, to me, this basketball season is going to be the most interesting basketball season I've ever seen, because it's my first season that Mark Kinsley isn't coaching the Bulldogs. It's the first season I've seen where we have 7 divisions in high school basketball. It's the first season where I see Louisville travel to California to play all these teams. It's the first time that I travel around and I'm not exclusively broadcasting for Green. So I'll still exclusively write about green, but it's definitely going to open my eyes to the real basketball landscape, and I'm really excited for it, Mike.
Yeah, and basketball is. I'm a little bit different than a lot of people around here. Basketball was my favorite sport growing up, and I just love this time of the year. I hate the weather at this time of year, but I love the start of basketball season. Was able to squeeze in a college game up at Kent State on Thursday night. Really enjoyed working that, and I hope I get to see 200 games over the next 6 months.
Yeah. How many games?
200.
200.
I hope. That might not happen,
That's
but
pretty ambitious, Mike.
I hope.
Yeah.
No, I just love the game, man.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, I love it too, man. But in terms of the Letter Podcast this season, keep checking out the YouTube channel on Saturdays for live streams at 10. And we're gonna bring with us some basketball broadcasts. We're gonna bring with us some more player interviews, and we're gonna bring you more insight into the wide world of Northeast Ohio high school sports. So with that, Mike, I think that'll do it for us. Is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm just looking forward to working with you, hopefully on these basketball broadcasts, and looking forward to do these shows again because I look forward to it.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it too. But anyways, this is Aiden and Mike signing out from the Letter Podcast here on November 23rd. Have a nice night.